Hi, welcome to Virtuous Woman program with Teresa. We are going to be looking at the topic acceptance as the secret to a healthy relationship. In the book of Proverbs 31 and verse 25, it says of this virtuous woman that she is clothed with strength and with dignity. Beautiful, isn't it? That this woman is a strong woman. She carries herself with dignity. This speaks of a woman that is confident in herself. This speaks of a woman who is respectful of herself, because that's where acceptance all begins. As we continue, we are going to be looking at several women, because virtuous womanhood is about a woman who has wholesome qualities. Most of the times, I know we have concentrated on the outward appearance, and it is good. But virtuous womanhood is about a woman who is beautiful inside out. And the Bible gives us examples of such women. In the book of Genesis, we are going to be looking at women like Rebecca, whom the Bible describes as a woman who was generous, a woman who went out and brought water and gave to a stranger, and not only gave water to the stranger, but also gave water to the animals of that stranger. A woman who the husband is told to have been so comforted after the death of his mother, because she was a sympathetic woman, a woman who was cheerful, a woman who played with her husband. We are going to be looking at women like Rachel, who the Bible says was beautiful in every way. No wonder when Jacob went into the house of Laban, he was not attracted to the first daughter, who was Leah. He saw this woman who was the younger one, but was beautiful in every way. And then we look at women like Abigail. I love Abigail. If I had another daughter, I would call her Abigail. Abigail, the Bible says, was a sensible and beautiful woman. We look at Ruth, a woman who lived with a bitter mother-in-law. Naomi herself said, "Call me Mara," meaning she was bitter. And if you look at the way she spoke to Ruth, you will see that indeed she was bitter. That I have no other sons. I cannot give birth to a son and you marry them, because she was a bitter woman. But yet, we see a virtuous woman in Ruth, a woman who was able to live with a mother-in-law, take care of her, go out and work, and come back and bring food to her mother-in-law. We will be looking at these women and the wholesome qualities that they carried that make them virtuous women, such that the Bible would put them there as examples for us to emulate. So today, as we talk about acceptance, I would want to partition acceptance into three levels. Acceptance is a very difficult thing to do. It is one of the most important keys to a healthy relationship, and yet it is the most difficult of all the things we do for relationships to do. Dictionary meanings of the word acceptance include belief in something, favorable reception of something, approval. I will want to section this topic into three and say there are three levels of acceptance. The first level of acceptance, it begins with you. It is self-acceptance. The Bible in the book of Psalms 139 says that I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Just accepting that I am the best version of myself that I can ever be. That's where it begins. Because you cannot give acceptance if you have not started it with yourself. You can only give what you have. And so it has to start with you. You know, it is not difficult accepting the good things about yourself. What is very difficult is accepting the negatives in our lives. It is hard to accept that we are flawed. It is hard to accept that we have weaknesses. It is hard to accept that we even have some disabilities, some bad habits, some things we are not proud of them. So we find it hard to accept them about ourselves. But acceptance means that I accept myself as a human being, partly good, partly bad, a human being who has a past, some things that I'm not proud of, that I did, that happened to me, and accepting that. Acceptance also speaks about accepting my body image, that I am okay just the way that I am, that I am designed in God's perfect design for Teresa, for yourself, that you are in God's perfect design. Sometimes deception tells us that I would be better if I was a little bit taller. I would be better if I was a little bit bigger. I would be better if I spoke with a little bit more soprano or bass. And these are the things that make us miserable. And you know, when we fail to accept ourselves as we are, then it affects our relationships, because we think so lowly of ourselves that we think that other people are doing us a favor by having us in their lives, or the other way around. So it opens a door for abuse, that somebody can treat you the way they want because they know that you consider it a privilege being in their lives. We are unable to draw boundaries and tell people, no, I can't take this, I won't do this, because we are thinking, if I draw boundaries, if I tell this person no to this thing that they want, they are going to leave me. And acceptance simply means I know I have flaws, I know I have weaknesses, I know I am not perfect, I know I have a past. Jesus, in the book of John, I think chapter 8, he tells people who were about to stone a woman caught in the act of adultery, if you are without sin, be the first one to throw that stone. So we all have faults, we all have weaknesses, we all have bad things that we struggle with, we all have inner struggles with weaknesses and habits. But accept that that is the person you are. Learn to forgive yourself, because acceptance involves being kind to yourself by forgiving yourself, not being too hard on yourself. And then when you have accepted yourself, then you will be able to relate with others in a healthy way. You will be able to draw boundaries, tell people this I can take, this I cannot take. And you will also know that you are the best version of yourself that God created. So acceptance at the first level begins with you. So accepting yourself will help you to grow in confidence and become that woman whom the Bible has told us that she's clothed with strength and with dignity. The second level of acceptance is acceptance of our situation. You know, life is full of many twists and turns, and everyone has their path. The problem happens when we begin to compare our paths with the paths of other people. Everyone has good things happening for them, and everyone also has some very devastating and bad things happening for them. Jesus, in fact, said that for as long as you are in the world, you will suffer many troubles. But be encouraged, I have overcome the world. Those were the words of Christ himself. And so in this life, we will encounter difficulties. We will find ourselves in situations we never bargained for, situations that we didn't want, we would not want in our lives. But acceptance, according to psychology, describes an assent to the reality of a situation. And some of these realities are not easy to accept. Realities like sickness, terminal illness of yourself or of a loved one, acceptance of a family that you got married into, that nobody wants to see you, that everyone seems to be fighting against you, acceptance of drug addiction in your child or pregnancy of your teenagers, or even a child out of wedlock, acceptance of addictions in our children, children who are struggling with drugs, with alcohol. Those are difficult things. Acceptance with loss. It is about 4 years now. I lost my son. That was a difficult thing to accept. Acceptance is not difficult when we are dealing with the positive. Acceptance becomes hard when we are talking and dealing with the negatives in our lives. Acceptance means that you accept your path. You accept the situations in your life as your reality. Difficulty comes when we compare. Remember, other people could be dealing with things worse than what you're dealing with. Maybe you're struggling with a child who is in addiction, who's rebellious, who's gone into crime. My struggle with acceptance is with a child I had to bury, and all I have is a grave to remind me. Maybe you're struggling with a husband who drinks alcohol and comes home drunk in the night. Another person could be dealing with a husband who's going through chemotherapy and facing the threat of death. So acceptance of your situation means growing into a reality of this is my reality, and realizing and accepting that this is where I've found myself, and that is where healing begins. Now, acceptance is not an event. You're not going to watch this video and suddenly feel, oh, now I'm at peace, I have accepted. Acceptance is a process. And in the process, there are obstacles towards getting to the place of acceptance. There are moments of anger. You feel like, why am I going through this? There are moments of depression, a deep sadness that grips you and you feel, this is not what I desire my life to be. There are moments of guilt and of shame at what you're going through and have gone through. The journey towards acceptance includes moments of denial, thinking, no, my child cannot be going through drugs, my child cannot take alcohol, my child cannot be pregnant. And denial can be as deep as thinking, I know I am in a dream and I will wake up and find that this is truly not my reality. And all of that, those are obstacles we get through on our way to acceptance, and it is normal. So I'll give you some few tips towards acceptance of yourself and acceptance of your situation. And one of those tips is that focus on the positive. I know there are so many negative things about yourself, but what is positive about yourself? There could be very many negative things about your situation, but what are some of the positive things that you can pick from your situation? The other thing that is a very important tool towards acceptance is stop thinking in black and white. Stop thinking that only your way is the right way. You know, other people too have their ways, and you would be surprised that if you accepted that there are other ways apart from your ways, then you will find it easier in life to go through situations and circumstances. The last point is focus on the present. What we call in psychology, the here and the now. There are things that happened in your past. There are things you have no control over. Accept those ones by focusing on the present. Forgive yourself for where you have erred. Forgive yourself for the mistakes you made, and focus on the now. Do the next right thing. So focus on the here and now. What is the right thing for you to do now? Focus on the here and now by forgiving people who hurt you in the past, forgetting the mistakes of your past, forgetting the hurts of your past, and you will be on your path to acceptance. As usual, some application points. One of the application points, get a notebook. On this notebook, I want you daily, every evening at the end of the day, to look at a minimum of 10 things that you can thank God for. It could be about yourself, that I'm in good health, thank you. Thank you that I was safe today. Look for 10 things about your situation, about your work, about the people in your life, improvements you may be seeing. 10 things every day, and just take a moment and thank God for those things. No complaints, just thanking God. That's your first application point. The second application point is I want you to print out something we call the Serenity Prayer. Google the Serenity Prayer. You can print it out in a good design, change the font, make it beautiful, print it out in a page. And I want you to make that part of your prayer every morning for the coming few weeks. And you know what? I'm expecting feedback. So thank you so much for watching this segment on acceptance. We have done 2 levels. So in our next episode, we are doing the 3rd level of acceptance, which is accepting the men in our lives as helpers in their lives. Thank you for staying with us. Remember to subscribe. Remember to tag a friend, share it with your friends, and let's grow together as we become the virtuous woman and transform this society one woman, one family at a time.